Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder, the place where we decode the corporate world, and let me tell you, BayCom Corp has some interesting news to share, or rather, news they are sharing a little later than usual. Get ready for some financial tidbits that might just surprise you before we dive in if you find value in these crystal. Clear dissections of company filings, make sure you are subscribed. We also have a thriving Discord community where you can discuss these insights further. The link is right there in the description below. Now, BayCom Corp, they filed their Form 8K on the 23rd of October 2025, which is a pretty big deal. This form is like a company's way of urgently informing the public about significant events. In this case, it is about their financial results for the quarter ending the 30th of September 2025. The filing itself is a bit of a formality, mainly referencing an earnings release that came out the same day they filed this report. But that earnings release, that is where the real story usually lies. So what is the main point of this filing? Well, it is all about putting their financial performance for the third quarter of 2025 out there for everyone to see. They're essentially saying, here is how we did financially. There aren't any huge bombshells in the 8K itself, since it mostly just points to their press release. But the press release attached as Exhibit 99.1 is the juicy part. This is where they typically highlight their revenues, profits, and any other key performance indicators. When companies issue these press releases, they're trying to paint a picture of their performance. They'll often talk about how well they're doing, sometimes with a bit of marketing spin. For BayCom Corp, this report concerns their operations up to the 30th of September 2025. Imagine it like a report card for that specific 3-month period. Did they get top marks? Or are there areas they need to work on? That is what we're looking to uncover. BayCom Corp is a publicly traded company. Specifically, their common stock is listed under the ticker symbol BCML on the Nasdaq Stock Market LLC. This means anyone can buy or sell shares, and their financial health is something that investors and frankly anyone interested in the business world would want to keep an eye on. The company itself, BayCom Corp, is incorporated in California. They're in the business of providing communication services, often related to wireless and radio frequencies, which is pretty essential in today's connected world. Think about everything from public safety communications to business operations. Their performance can tell us a lot about the broader trends in the telecommunications and technology sectors. While this specific 8K filing is brief, mainly serving as a vehicle to attach the earnings release, it is the financial data within that earnings release, Exhibit 99.1, that holds the real substance. In typical filings like this, we'd be looking for numbers that show growth or decline in revenue, how much profit they're making, and what their overall financial condition looks like. Are they spending more than they earn, or are they building up a healthy cash reserve? These are the kinds of questions that a detailed look at their financial statements would answer. Companies today also provide interactive data files, often in XBRL format, which make it easier for computers and analysts to sift through the numbers. This filing includes one such file, indicating a move towards more accessible financial data. Given that this 8K is primarily an announcement of their earnings release, the direct financial tables aren't presented within the 8K itself. However, the attached press release, Exhibit 99.1, would contain the crucial financial details. Typically, in a situation like this, what we'd be looking for in the earnings release are key figures that give us a snapshot of the company's health. For instance, did their total revenue increase or decrease compared to the same period last year? If revenue increased by, say, 10%, that is generally a positive sign, suggesting more customers or higher prices. If it dropped by 5%, that could mean they're losing market share or facing tougher economic conditions. We'd also be keenly interested in their net income, which is essentially their profit after all expenses are paid. A rising net income is great news, indicating strong profitability. If net income is falling, it could signal rising costs or falling revenues that are eating into their profits. Another important metric is earnings per S-share, or EPS, which tells investors how much profit is allocated to each outstanding share of common stock. A higher EPS is generally more attractive to investors. Let's imagine what BayCom Corp might have reported in their earnings release. Were there any significant trends? For example, if their operating expenses significantly increased, we'd want to know why. Is it due to investment in new technology, expanding their workforce, or perhaps unexpected cost overruns? The story behind the numbers is often more important than the numbers themselves. We might also see details on their cash flow. Is the company generating enough cash from its operations to fund its activities and investments? Positive cash flow is a sign of a healthy business. If cash flow is negative, they might be relying on debt or other financing to keep the lights on, which can be unsustainable in the long run. Considering BayCom Corp's business, we'd be looking for signs of growth in their core services. Are their communication networks in demand? Are they expanding into new markets or offering new services that are resonating with customers? For example, if they are involved in expanding broadband internet services. We'd want to see the subscriber growth figures for that segment. Looking back, BayCom Corp has been in the business of communications for a while. Understanding their competitive landscape is key. Who are their main rivals and how does BayCom's performance stack up against them? Are they gaining ground or are competitors outperforming them, for instance? If a competitor announces stronger growth in a similar segment, it would highlight a potential challenge for BayCom. Risks are also an important part of these reports. Companies often detail potential challenges that could impact their future performance. This could include regulatory changes, increased competition, technological disruptions, or economic downturns. For a company like BayCom, operating in the telecommunications space, regulatory shifts can be particularly impactful, as can the rapid pace of technological change. They need to constantly adapt to stay ahead. In terms of leadership, the filing shows Kiri L. Colwell as Senior Vice President, Chief Financial Officer, and Secretary. This suggests a stable leadership team in place to guide the company's financial strategy. However, any mention of leadership changes in the earnings release would be a significant point to note, as it can signal shifts in company direction or strategy. Now, for my take on BayCom Corp based on what this filing represents, this 8K is essentially a confirmation that their financial results for the third quarter of 2025 are being made public. The real analysis hinges on the details within that attached earnings release. If the earnings release shows strong revenue growth, increasing profitability, and positive cash flow, it would indicate that BayCom Corp is heading in a positive direction. Their business in communications and technology is vital, and if they are successfully navigating the evolving landscape, that is a strength. However, we must look beyond just the headline numbers. Are these results sustainable? Are they investing wisely for the future, or are they cutting corners? A key risk for companies in this sector is the constant need for innovation and infrastructure investment. Falling behind on technology or failing to adapt to evolving consumer needs could be significant weaknesses. For example, if their earnings release shows stagnant growth in their core services while competitors are innovating rapidly, that would be a red flag. The opportunity for a company like BayCom lies in the ever-increasing demand for connectivity and data services. Expanding their network reach, investing in next-generation technologies, and securing strategic partnerships could all drive future growth. Conversely, regulatory hurdles or the emergence of disruptive new technologies could pose threats. My overall conclusion is that while this filing is mainly a procedural step, the true story of BayCom Corp's third quarter of 2025 performance lies in the detailed financial release. Investors and observers should pay close attention to that document for concrete figures on revenue, profit, and cash flow to make an informed assessment. Without seeing those specific numbers, it is hard to give a definitive judgment, but the framework provided by this 8K points us to where we need to look for the answers. Alright? That is our breakdown of BayCom Corp's latest filing. What are your thoughts on what this report might hold? What kind of financial performance are you expecting from them? Drop your predictions and insights in the comments below. If you found this deep dive helpful, please hit that like button and subscribe for more corporate decoding. You can also join our Discord community for more discussions. The link is in the description. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.